On today's episode, we are talking with Indy Lee, the founder of Indy Lee Skincare, which is the brand that pioneered the clean skincare movement. She launched the brand in 2010 with one mission: to create safe and effective products inspired by her own health journey. What started in her kitchen after a life threatening diagnosis has since grown into a company carried in more than 2,000 stores worldwide. Andy Lee has been featured in top publications like Vogue, Allure, and Harper's Bazaar, and her products have been staples for consumers who care about both wellness and beauty. On top of that, the brand continues to set the standard for what clean beauty means, balancing science, sustainability, and transparency. The best part is that Indy built all of this after being told she only had 6 months to live, transforming a personal crisis into a movement that has reshaped an entire industry. Indy's story is proof that inspiration can come from the hardest places and that you can build something meaningful without giving up on your own values. Indy, it's an honor to have you on the show, and welcome to the Brand Study.
Wow, that was some tribute. Thank you. I'm honored.
I've been doing research about you and your brand, and your story is truly so inspiring. I really mean everything I say. You've shaped an entire industry, and you've been so open and transparent about your
Thank you.
personal journey, and it really is so powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt it was important that other people know what's possible, even in the face of devastating news, and that we always have a choice to choose, joy, even when we're faced those things.
We're going to get into all of that. And just to start really high level about the product and the brand, I'd love to just get a quick overview about Indie Lee Skincare, the type of products that you all sell.
So the brand really kind of has several different platforms. So we like to say that, we're meant for all skin types, meaning we have something for Face for All, which is a platform that's really formulated for all skin types. Then we have some products that are formulated more for those reactive, so cleansers and serums. Then radiance, think those who are more mature, my age, because I don't like that AA word, because let's face it, if we're not aging, we're dead. So we have products made for those, and those go to the cleansers, the serums, the eye creams. So I like to say that our brand really does offer a wide selection for all skin types and all ages.
And I love that it is so inclusive, and clean beauty is at the core of it. So are you really being specific about the ingredients that you all are using, and the traceability and the sustainability and how it's tested? Is that really at the core of all the products?
Yeah, it always has been. In fact, a lot of our products are Cosmos certified. And for those who don't know, Cosmos is a global umbrella for things like Soil Association or EcoCert. And what it does is it's a certification that's on a product by product basis, because everything from the farm and how things are being harvested as well as grown, to the extraction, to how the vats are being cleansed. Let's face it, if we are creating this clean product, but then the vats that they're being manufactured in are maybe washed with harmful chemicals that could go into the water system, how clean is that? So it's really looking at every stage of the operational cycle and the production cycle all the way to end use. So you look at our glass bottles, those are PCR glass. We had Forest Stewardship Guild in terms of our paper and the inks that we're using, really taking stewardship of the earth super, super seriously, because this wasn't a money power play. This was really about creating change in an industry back when nobody was keeping an eye on it. I mean, let's face it, I started this in 2008. Clean beauty wasn't on the scene. So I take it really seriously. And I actually started before that. I was very involved with the farm to table movement. So stewardship of the earth is something that is so personally important to me.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I feel like when you take care of the earth, ultimately you're going to end up taking care of yourselves as well. And really
Absolutely.
what's good for the earth is what's good for our bodies. And
Absolutely.
and the details, hearing about how you clean the vats. I mean, the detail and attention to details throughout the entire value chain. That's
Exactly.
that's pretty incredible to hear.
And thank you. And I mean, listen, there's no such thing as perfection. And I think that when we talk about sustainability, I think we need to start having the conversation about regenerative properties, right? Sustainability means we're keeping the status quo. My hope that as the brand grows and as industry grows, we're going to see more regenerative things on the market, whether, it's the components or the sourcing that we're, planting them, cover crops and things like that to take and care and maintain the soil. And even when it comes to components, things are coming out all the time that is new and better. So I think that as brand founders and as brands, we need to continually try to look and see what we can do better. By no means do I think we're perfect. I think there's ways that we can improve. But I think having an eye on how we can do that, while obviously keeping the lights on, is always very important.
I mean, as a business, there's always going to be rooms for improvement. And you mentioned your finances and money wasn't the real motivation
Yeah.
behind this. How have you balanced those two of having a financially viable business and, like you said, keeping the lights on while also maintaining true to the mission and your values?
It's a great question, and it hasn't always been easy. I started this brand by selling all my jewelry, entering emptying my 401k, and going into credit card debt that I'm still paying off. And this is 16 years later. Because it was really, I mean, I started the line when I was given 6 months to live. Obviously, that was 16 years ago. I survived successful surgery now 3 times on brain tumors. But yeah, we could go into that. There's no question you can't ask here. Um, but it was very difficult. Every dollar I made was put back into the brand. I was very fortunate. We did have a private equity investment in 2017, and it was going great until it wasn't. And then the brand found itself with new owners in 2024. In July 2024, we became a part of the American Exchange Group, or AX Beauty, which has really been an incredible opportunity for this brand to continue along. And sky's the limit. I'm really excited for things that are coming forward.
Yeah, that didn't come up in my research. So there's a few private equity transactions.
We had
Mm.
one private equity invest in 2017, and then they exited an American Exchange Beauty, which is privately held. So I found my forever home in
Oh,
2024. Yeah, while waking up
yeah.
from brain surgery, my second and third time. It's been a wild
Oh my
ride.
God. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's really no no right answer to this question, but managing health and your well-being personally as a founder, I mean, being an entrepreneur and a founder, comes with stresses and it comes with a different
Mhm.
type of lifestyle where you can't just clock out at 5 p.m.
No.
How was there any tips or any tricks that you personally leaned on to find that balance?
You know, it's a I think it's different for everybody, right? I was very lucky. I have a very supportive family who wanted me to pursue my passion. And I have to give a lot of credit to my husband, who I never, ever speak about because he likes to be behind the scenes. But let's face it, I was able to, we were able to pay the mortgage while I wasn't taking a paycheck for 7 years after my career started in finance. So I, had a great career. I left to spend more time with my kids. I decided to do this after waking up from surgery, but I was lucky to have that type of support. So I just want to put that out there. But I think that the answer is it was leaning on tools that I had, meaning I have a very strong meditation practice that I've been practicing for over 20 years. And that really does help when you are going through whether health battles or the trials and tribulations of starting a brand, being invested, working with private equity, acquisition, all those things. My meditation practice was front and center. And I really always said there's no such thing as work life balance. Sometimes you're going to be 100% mom and wife. Other times you're going to be 100% founder and the rest have to go. I don't think that there's any way to do it 50-50. It's just, you kind of have to roll with it and be nimble. I was really, really good about maintaining that mindset until I would say 2022. I got so busy with the business of self care, I forgot to take care of myself. And I think that's a problem that most founders have. And I noticed I have 7 autoimmune conditions. So I noticed started to have some different symptoms popping up. I was diagnosed with Crohn's and said something is going on here bigger than that even. And that's when I went to my neuroendocrinologist and was told that I had to have my second brain tumor removed. So in June of 2000 and I can't wait, July, that's right. No, June. June 7th and June 9th last year, I woke up from brain surgery twice. And it was
Wow.
really because I lost sight of self care despite being the founder of a self care company. And I will tell you, it is because of that that I am more driven and more passionate than I've ever been about having the conversations of balance and what that really can look like as a founder, as well as what does true wellness look like.
Wow, that's really powerful to
Most
hear.
people are like, I
And
don't know where to go
do you
after
feel
you
like
tell
that
me
has
you just did
become
that.
Yeah. No, seriously, it's like I have nothing to even comprehend like how to get through that, but it's really inspiring. And do you feel like that's like one of your core inspirations is going through that personal health journey for you personally?
1,000%. Thank you for picking up on that. It is 1,000%. It was what fueled me to start the brand in the first place. Like I said, I was a CPA. I ran HB, managed HBO's international finance division. I left to spend more time with my children. You know, they were 3 and like 6 months. Somehow wound up very involved with the farm to table movement and got very involved with what people were putting in their body. And then diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And then a few months later, started losing my vision, diagnosed with a rare brain tumor, given 6 months to live. And when I asked the doctors how this was possible, they said it could most likely be tied to the environment. I pointed out I ate organic out of my own greenhouse in my backyard. And that's when my doctor asked me what I put on my skin. What did my mother put on her skin when she was pregnant? This is back in 2008. And that moment was fueled everything. And I realized I need to create change in this industry, and I'm going to create a line that was safe, that was chic, that looked beautiful on a shelf, but more importantly, spend the rest of my life educating and empowering others to live the healthiest version of their life, whatever that looked like for everyone. So it has always been the core to, like, I guess, what ignited this for me and has kept me on that path of not getting complacent until, like I said, I got way too involved with the business of the self-care and not really taking care of myself. And so the universe decided to send me a bigger signal and put me in check, and found myself having brain surgery a second and third time.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, I need to prioritize
Yeah.
myself for everything to keep going
Yeah, and
forward.
I'm very lucky. Like I said, the brand was acquired last
Yeah.
year, and American Exchange has really given me a platform to speak up about these things, as well as providing a team that is as passionate as I am about the brand. So I found my forever home, and I know I'm very lucky
That's
about that.
yeah, that's amazing where the brand and the mission can still continue without
Absolutely.
everything relying on you and being put on your shoulders
Oh,
to walk it.
100%. And
Yeah.
they care about my health, which is
Yeah.
something so incredible. They're like, heal, don't go too much. Like, you gotta take care of yourself. Wait, are you this going through that or the other? And checking in
Yeah.
on me and my health, which is something you don't always find in big organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And was there always a part of you that felt like you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or did this personal health journey really ignite this new path for you?
Oh, it definitely ignited it for me.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I was one of those people who was afraid to call for pizza because I didn't was too afraid like I was afraid of my own voice and my own shadow. And if someone said describe yourself in a color, if someone could describe you in a color, it would have been beige or clear. Like I was a shadow in the corner. But this passion for change, this wanting to leave a legacy, this wanting to leave this planet a lot better than way I came to it is what said, you can do this. You need to do this. I will say, like, I always thought I would be in somewhere in the business field, obviously, having gone to HBO, having my CPA, all those things. But I never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being an entrepreneur, you really do have to step into the spotlight. I mean, talking to you now, I would describe you as anything but beige or a shadow.
Thank
But
you. I worked really hard.
I'm sure there's been a lot of transformations.
Yes.
And I mean, coming from a finance background and a CPA background, that's an amazing foundation to start a
Yes.
business, though, and to understand the finances and be able to understand the operations on that
Yeah.
granular of a level.
Yeah, I have to give credit to my mom who said, when I was deciding what major, she told me I could be like a doctor, or a lawyer, or accountant, or a teacher. I was like, okay, I can't stand blood, so that's not happening. I'm afraid to speak up in public, so a lawyer is most definitely not going to happen. And I was like, I don't have the patience to be a teacher. So I went to accounting. I was very, very good at math. And so I went to accounting, and I am forever thankful that I understand how numbers work and how a balance sheet works, and how when you look at, your financials, you know where to look. And so that foundation was instrumental in starting the business.
I talk to so many founders and they're so focused on obviously product, but a lot of them come from like branding and marketing backgrounds, creative backgrounds, and then the financial component is foreign. When to raise debt, when to bring on investors on equity level, what's their cash flow and burn rate, and all the metrics
Look
that
at
go
you
into running
at
a
using all the
business.
terms. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And then I'm sure there was some really hard moments in the early days. Did you rely on any tools to really, you mentioned meditation. Were there any moments that you really felt like this wasn't going to work and you maybe almost shut down?
Oh, yeah. Many, many, many. And I think it's something that being so far into this, I'm no longer free to talk about. I think that it's interesting. I was having this conversation the other day with somebody where brand founders and brands don't talk about that, right? You have to just talk about your successes. And I think that's actually a detriment to other founders or people with that entrepreneurial spirit, that it's okay to think that you're about to fail. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. All those things are part of the process of growing and learning as a human and as a business for business. So I 100% had so many sleepless nights going in for the first 7 years before we had any money put into, real money put into the company other than friends and family. So, yes, there were many days where I'm like, this is it. Oh my gosh. And I will tell you, even having been invested with private equity, there were many days that I still thought that this was the end of the brand. It's scary out there. It's not so easy. The amount of money that it takes to have a brand light a fire so that it becomes buzzy, it's it's exorbitant. And I say that not to invoke fear in anybody who wants to do that, but I just want it to be a reality check that this is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go for it. But I think that most founders have this issue, unless you're coming in with like a lot of money that you personally have. I think most founders go through that. And I think we're doing a disservice for other potential founders by not being open that it's not easy and this is a normal occurrence.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being so honest because I completely agree. And I've seen on social media so many, business personalities are kind of doing the opposite, saying like, "Oh, create a Shopify store and you'll sell millions within your first 30 days." I feel like that's the true detriment to founders is thinking
Yeah,
that it's going to be easy and then setting yourself up for expectation. It's like thinking that you're going to go for a walk around the block, but actually you need to go scale a mountain and like having that
absolutely.
mental preparation
Abs-
of, yeah,
yeah. Yeah. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's the cancel culture, the society, social media, etc. But again, I think it's a disservice. And I'm in an incredible place in my life and with the brand, with who I have backing us, to say it's not easy. It's never
yeah.
easy. But when you do something from a place of purpose, I don't know, everything changes.
And then that purpose really becomes the why you're doing it. And the
Yes.
money and the finances and all of that, that's great to have, but that's not the real reason and the real mission behind why you're, working 80-hour weeks or, dealing with company issues
You
at
got it.
at
You know,
midnight or yeah.
for
And
sure.
to
And
have that anchor.
I wouldn't change any moment of it. All the ups,
Wow.
all the downs, I wouldn't change it because it led me to here and where I am as a person. And I feel really blessed by it. It didn't mean I
Yeah.
like enjoyed it while I was going through it and crying my eyes
Yeah.
out and going, oh my God, what is going to happen? But it made me who I am. So why would I want to
Yeah.
shove that under the carpet?
Yeah, the good and the bad, it all creates the picture of who we are. And to hear that you sold personal jewelry and liquidated savings accounts and really poured everything into the brand in the early days with children, with young children
Yeah.
at the time. That's yeah, that's
I
inspiring.
think I'm probably
And
nuts.
yeah, but that's what it takes, like, to just be so driven and just to, like, truly believe. You're like, "I know that this is the way," like, and look at all
Absolutely.
the companies, like, you've really reshaped the industry, shaped how people talk about skincare and ingredients, and people who I never thought would have any sort of awareness around ingredients or what they're putting on their body. I've seen them start using different types of products, and it
Isn't
really
that
has
amazing?
sparked. It is, yeah.
Like,
It's
that's the thing,
so
like, whatever happens on the brand, it was a success. Like, I think that's the part where I'm at in my life, is that no matter what, I helped create change in an industry that needed to be overhauled and needed to be spoken about. And I didn't have to do it in a fear-mongering way, put down, bash any other brand because that's not who I am, but just provide education and empowerment. And now clean beauty isn't just a trend that was going to come and go. We've got other brands that are coming in and scaling. I did that. I was a part of that. And that can never be taken away from me. And that was my why. So for me, it's all gravy. This
yeah,
brand has been a success.
yeah, that's amazing, and that it sounds like you support and encourage other clean beauty brands to enter and to be successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It wouldn't be a mainstay if other brands didn't come on, right? Let's face it. The only way we're going to create change is to have enough of these brands to scale a true movement and that it would be mainstay. That can only happen when there are quote unquote competitors. But let's face it, I'm by other brands. I want to support other founders. Like, let's lift one another up and enough with this cancel culture. Let's see how we can help support one another. We all win when healthier ingredients and products are on the market.
That is such an interesting and amazing perspective.
Thank
You
you.
you just said to welcome competitors to come in, and as a business owner and entrepreneur, usually it's the opposite. Usually we don't want competitors, but here you are saying the complete
It's not
opposite of
reality.
welcoming in competitors. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, really. And it just shows that I think when other people enter the space, it's validating in a lot of ways of like, okay, what we've done from day one, there's a real reason why people need this type of product, why clean beauty is here to stay. It's not only good for the people using it, but it is also a viable business. And I think the more people that are using those types of products, overall, the perspectives and the trends are just going to start shifting towards that direction on a real macro level, like rather just on individual level, the
I
whole
agree.
perspective
I
of
agree.
buyers. And you see, even on mainstream mass retail, like a Target or Walmart, you're starting to see clean beauty on end caps.
That the best thing
Yeah.
ever? Like, I was a part of making that happen. I might not have it
S-
might not be my brand, but I was a
Yeah.
part of that. And
Yeah.
I just think that is the coolest thing
It's so cool.
ever.
It's
And like
so
I said,
cool.
that's in here for my rest of my life. It will always be in here. And I feel so grateful. I
Yeah.
also don't believe we're going to change government around
Yeah.
this. So while I might not change policy, although there are a lot of incredible changes with MOCRA, et cetera, that have come onto the come onto the scene, while I can't change laws, what I can do is help shape purchasing power, right? So you vote with your
Hmm.
dollars. And so
Absolutely.
I feel like that is part of this as well in terms of elevating the importance of it. We're seeing it in the food industry. We're seeing it now in terms of people calling out ingredients. I don't believe in bashing the other brands. It's just like, why? Just purchase what you want. You don't need to put other people down in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just focus on your brand, focus on yourself. Like, as individuals focusing on self-care, it's also similar from a business perspective, like self-care
1,000%.
for the business.
Exactly. If
And
you get bogged
yeah,
down by competitive analysis and who you are and what they're doing, you're going to just provoke a lot of anxiety within. And where's that going to benefit you?
yeah. No, 100%. And I'd love to rewind a little bit. So you had this health diagnosis. They told you 6 months to live. You went through a brain surgery. And I saw an article where you woke up and you said, I need to pursue this mission of creating
Yep.
skincare.
Within 2 months, I
How
turned the website on.
how did you actually do it? Like, did you did you start
I
researching
honestly don't
ingredients?
know.
Did you
I
what was your first product, and how did you actually get that first product like
Okay,
into
so
the hands of people?
so funny. So what
Yeah.
happened, I was like I said, I was very involved with the farm to table movement. And I couldn't then work in my greenhouse. I built a 750 square foot greenhouse. I should say that I am a type A personality. So there's that. And if you haven't told, I'm like probably the most optimistic person you will ever find. Like I just don't do doom and gloom. Even when I'm
I
walking
love
into
it.
a surgical suite, when they say, you have 50% chance or less of waking up. I'm like, don't worry, put on some kick ass music. We got this. Legit, that's what I said. So
Love it.
I was diagnosed with RA. I couldn't work in the greenhouse or the farm. And my sister announced that she's pregnant. And I didn't want anything potentially harmful on my newborn nephew Max's tush. So I
Mm.
decided to take ingredients I was growing, tons of calendula, 12 different varieties of lavender, and make some products to share at the baby shower. Just for the baby shower. It was for nothing else. Okay, made little miniatures. I clearly had way too much on hands. And so everybody at the baby shower said, "Oh my gosh, this is what you should do. You should start a line." I'm like, "It's 2008. Clean beauty didn't exist." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" No, did not listen. And then the doctor says to me that it could have been what I put on my skin or what my mother put on the skin, knowing babies are born with with a toxic load, knowing epigenetically, transdermally, ingredients can have an impact. And that's when I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a line." And when you are given 6 months to live, you get really crystal clear with how you're going to spend your time, like crystal clear. When my children were home, I was with them. When my kids were at school, I was looking for a doctor who was going to give me a different diagnosis and prognosis. And I started speaking to anyone and everyone I could about the beauty industry, almost like DIY, dermatologists, aromatherapists, holistic doctors, homeopathic, you name it. I was going to talk to them. And I started mixing products in my kitchen. The first product was something called the coconut citrus scrub, which is in the line today.
Yes. I
I
love
made it
it.
in my kitchen because my skin was so dry and scaly from medication. I was on a form of chemotherapy for my RA that I need something that was going to be really moisturizing. But I'm also, full disclosure, a klutz. So having something that is partially oil and partially sediment in a jar in my shower is asking myself to just have a calamity. So I was like, coconut is solid at room temperature. Why don't I do this? Blah, 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 blah. Still in the line to this day. But when I
Wow.
woke up from surgery, by the way, as I said on a call, like literally before I got into this call, it's not still made in my kitchen. I
Okay.
was
Yeah.
decadent.
I think that would be fair.
But I really just took it from there, but when I woke up from surgery, I'd already kind of had everything. I'd had a couple SKUs ready to go, and I thought I turned on my website 2 months later after waking up from surgery. It literally was like one of the 4th calls that I made from neuro ICU was to my web designer, Matt, and it's like, "We're gonna turn it on in 2 months. I made it." And he's like, "You're insane." I'm like, "I know, but we're doing it." I turned on the website. I thought it was going to be like that UPS commercial of like lore where it's like, all the orders come in. No, I didn't know marketing. So that did not
Oh
happen.
my God.
But I didn't give up. And here we are today. And that product is still with us.
So you had some inspiration before, and then afterwards you're like, this is
It's go
100%
time.
what needs to be
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
100. Well, let's face it, 2008, 2009, clean beauty was
Yeah.
dashed avocados browning in a jar. It did not look like it does now. When I first started, it was not nearly the robust scientific actives and ingredients that we now have. They weren't available. They were just starting to become available.
Yeah.
We didn't have the preservative systems that we do have now that are,
Mm.
paraben free, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, I mean, to go after, beauty and cosmetics, I mean, you're talking about some of the largest companies in the world, Procter and Gamble, Unilevers. These are multi-billion dollar international companies. And here you are mixing ingredients in your kitchen. But fast
Ignorance is
forward,
bliss, my friend. Ignorance is
yeah,
bliss. How hard
Ignorance
could it
is
be?
bliss.
You know what? You gotta be a little bit crazy to do things like this, but in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think you have to be a little bit crazy to be a founder and
Oh,
entrepreneur? A
yeah.
little bit?
Especially in 2008 during an economic
Yeah.
downturn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking
My
about,
family
biggest economic.
my family thought I was absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. Friends and family were like, "Okay, mhm." Yeah, they're like, "Okay, your nice little hobby." I was like,
Yeah.
"No, I am going for it." I put a vision board together, and it was about probably in 2010, I put the vision board together. Almost every one of those retailers, bar one, but I'll get there, everyone.
That is incredible. I actually have goosebumps right now hearing that. Has that been something that you rely on, is envisioning where you want your life to go and where you want the brand to go and what retailers and how you want the business to grow? Like, is that something that you rely on? Because vision boards, I mean, the fact that that came
Oh,
true,
yeah.
that's
I'm
incredible.
I say that with a Buddha head in back of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I'm big on that. I don't think that you can, at least I have never been able to just go like, and everything that I want happens. But
Yeah.
I think by having that type of mindset, it allows you to cut out the clutter and the noise so that you can get focused on what you want to achieve. And I think that's where manifestation is. I don't necessarily think that you can just wish everything to an existence. I think you need to put in the time and the work. But I think by thinking and embodying what you want to create, that you're able to bring it forth because you're pretty clear about how you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally believe that as well. And I use vision and meditation when I feel like I'm at a crossroads in my life. And I completely agree with you. It's like sometimes you need the blueprint and sometimes you need that space to be able to create the blueprint, but you still need to go and build the
Yeah.
house.
Like I couldn't possibly go like this and then all of a sudden these products would be in front of me. It's not a wiggle of my nose. And nor do I have Harry Potter wands here. I need to actually put in the time, put in the work, figure things out. But when you create something on paper and you're able to put it pen to paper or vision board or all those things, you're starting to do the work internally and emotionally to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a manifestation practice like that does work. It's because you're starting to put the pieces of really the walk-in process, right?
And then when it does happen, I feel like you've had some glimpses of what it's going to take and what it's going to feel like.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like a practice round. You're like, okay, like I've felt this in maybe a small percentage of it, but now it's the real deal. So
Yeah,
let's go.
I
And
agree. I
yeah,
completely
and
agree. And you start to understand what a gut feeling is as you start to do it. And I
yeah,
think it's a really this is such a great conversation I rarely get to have on podcasts because I do think that your gut is telling you if you're on the right track or not. And
mm,
so when you start measuring against what you want and what actually happens, you start to know when that's a good gut feeling and when it's a bad gut feeling. And I think that's an important distinction to make because we do have those visceral reactions for it's good and bad. You just need to start to think about, okay, well, how did this manifest itself so that you can see it in the future. And I think that's where failure is such a wonderful tool. It doesn't mean the end, it just means a new beginning. And what you're learning from that is, I think they all go hand in hand. I can't imagine that there's anybody who had overnight success, never failed at anything. There was no learning in that. That's just not
yeah,
real. And if it is, it's like the
yeah,
1.0000001% chance that that ever happens.
yeah. And I think that's really when you learn is when things get uncomfortable, is when you really have to dig deep. You have to overcome those challenges, prove to yourself that, I need to grow to be able to push through this challenge at the time. And when everything's amazing, you're kind of just walking through the park and enjoying
Yes.
life. And, but it's not really, you don't really have to dig deep and,
No,
kind of push yourself to become something greater than you
I
were
agree.
before.
I agree.
Yeah.
You don't learn from your successes, you learn from your failures. So we
From
need
the
to stop
failures.
thinking that that's such a negative and the connotation around it because it's such a beautiful tool if
Mm,
you lean into the learning associated with it.
Yeah, and embrace it. Yeah, I hear so many people here have aspirations to be founders and to start a company, but the failure aspect is that thing that really keeps them from pursuing it and that fear of failure.
Yeah. And I don't think it ever goes away. I mean, I don't set out to do things to fail, obviously.
Yeah.
That's not something that I say, hey, let's do this so I can see how bad I can flop. And I do think that everybody experiences imposter syndrome. I certainly do still to this day on a regular basis. I think it gives you a healthy check. I think when it becomes debilitating, that it becomes an issue.
So you had one product and it didn't sell initially on the website. What was that turning point? Did you start investing in marketing?
Oh
How did you
gosh,
get that
no, I didn't
first
have any
sale?
money. So what happened? So I got very lucky. I had a co-op because I didn't understand retail. I was from HBO, it was eyeballs, subscribers. It wasn't putting CPG, putting something on shelf. So I was fortunate enough to work at a co-op to gain retail experience, and then I realized that packaging matters, marketing matters, what it means to retail, what it means to have shelf space, all those things that are so important. I only did it for like 6 or 7 months, but it was so instrumental for the growth of myself as a founder and the brand, and I realized that I can't do it alone, and that's when I was able to bring on some people who were willing to help and get involved, it was kind of like from there on, like, we were off to the races, "Okay, well, I'm not good at marketing. Okay, let's bring somebody in who's really good at marketing. Let's bring somebody in who understands sales and is not afraid to pick up the phone like I was at the time." Now, I'm not afraid, but then I was like, "Wait, you want me to call a retailer?" One of those things. I also learned the importance of design. I said I was
Mhm.
eco chic. I was so eco. It was unbelievable. I was in a brown Boston round jars, amber jars. It looked crunchy granola despite me saying I was chic. And I remember we were doing trunk shows at Henry Bendel's and it was and they're like, "We love your brand. You're crushing it here, but I can't see this on a shelf here." And we
Mm.
realized, okay, we need to change packaging. And you know what? We actually transformed it to something very similar to what it is now at the band. And the colors have changed and been muted and softened and whatnot. But it was very much like that.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, everything changed. It was like overnight, Bendel's was like, yes, we want you on shelf. It was Saks coming calling, Anthropology, Nordstrom, Blue Mercury. It was really fascinating for me to understand the importance of design and marketing. And when you get that right, it resonates because you can't say you're one thing and then all of a sudden it looks like it's something different. People are like, wait, I don't get this.
And so you changed packaging, you essentially did a full rebrand to
Yes,
become more aligned to the
a
consumers and the
hundred
retailers
percent.
where that's really cool. So you didn't change the product, it was just the
Just packaging.
outer design and the branding.
Yep, and that's what
Yeah,
really lit the fire for what Indie Lee is today.
yeah. That's so cool. And did you have any co-founders? Would you consider any of these early people co-founders or
Well,
early
I founded
employees?
yeah, I founded the brand before surgery, so it was really me. I will tell you my best friend
Okay.
Dana was involved, she was incredible. I wish everybody could have someone like my bestie.
Yeah.
Um, and then we were fortunate, I had another partner come on who really understood marketing and sales, and so
Mm.
she came on, she also was wonderful, friends and family money from that too, so, it was really off to the races from there.
Yeah, that's really cool. And was there any industry pushback? You mentioned that the retailers, once you did that rebrand, were really in favor and really supportive. Did you experience some pushback from the industry of creating a clean beauty brand in 2008,
No.
2009?
No, I think it was well, by the time we had changed the look, it was 2014. So we are starting to,
Okay.
Tata Harper was starting to come on. I think we started around the same time. Dr. Hauschka was there, certainly, of course, from Avena. Um, so there wasn't much pushback. I think people were actively looking for these things. Don't forget the organic food movement was very, very strong then. So I think that also lent credence to it. But I think once people saw the product and experienced the products, they went from no to oh. And I think that's a big part is the sampling and letting people experience the products. And that was what really changed people. But people have to take it off the shelf. And that's why the packaging was so important. I was speaking at a school the other day about how important your packaging and your messaging need to match what's in the goop
Mm,
that's in the bottle. And so I can't say there was pushback. I think at first it was sort of like, yeah, I don't know, it has to work. But once they tried it, they're like, oh, this is an elevated experience. Okay, okay, let's give it a shot. And then press really were so kind and generous to my brand. I mean,
mm,
we had no money for marketing. We didn't start digital ads until like 2019. I mean, we just didn't have that. I will say that retailers, the larger retailers and the press were so embracing of us. I couldn't I really very blessed.
yeah, that's incredible. And how would you get in front of retailers? How would you make those connections?
You're gonna you're gonna you're not gonna believe they called us.
Wow,
Yeah. I will
that's
never forget the day that I was sitting in my office and I got an email and I thought it was phishing. I didn't even think it was real. And it said from like anthropology. I'm like, oh, this is fake. There's no way
yeah,
this is happening. And I will tell you, it was the day that I said, I don't know if we can continue to do this. Like at some point, I've got to take a
wow,
salary. I have children. One day they're going to want to go to college. Like all those
yeah,
things. I'm like, something's got to give. And I got that
yeah,
message from anthropology. And it was like, transformational. And then I said, okay, so they said, we're going to bring you online. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, fantastic. And then I remember saying, I hope these are big orders. We really need this. And then I got another email that says, no, we're going to bring in into the doors too. And I was just like, that was it. And then
wow.
Saks put us into the apothecary and all those things. It was amazing. It was truly an
That's
amazing time for the brand.
yeah, that's must be so exciting. It's so exhilarating.
It is, but it's scary because how do
Yeah.
you then scale it?
Yeah, I was about to ask that.
Yeah,
Oftentimes
be
when
careful what you wish for.
right, you get it, you get a big PO and then you're like, "Oh, wow, now we need to go and make that and that's gonna cost X
Oh,
to be able
yeah,
to make that."
yeah. I again, I I don't think I could replicate the journey if I tried because I was very fortunate. One of the chemists and manufacturers that I still worked with to this day and who I consider part of my family, he really believed in me and what I wanted to create and truly helped me make those POs.
Wow.
Like I I am forever grateful, forever grateful. He never wants to be mentioned. He never wants to have that, but I will be forever grateful to him because it wouldn't have been possible had he not helped.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it truly was like a community effort
Oh my gosh.
behind you.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I mean, you should have seen when we would get orders. I had my kids like packing. I didn't have a fulfillment house. I'm sure you remember the magazine Lucky Magazine.
mhm.
So Eva Chen went in her Lucky Breaks. I was covered in compostable packing peanuts and tape. Like you had to see, I literally was covered. I had tape in my hair as we're trying to tape these boxes up to get these out. It was hysterical. But it was like friends came over, everybody chipped in. It was like one of those things when like listen to like Guy Raz or like how I made this. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was literally those type of moments.
Yeah, that's so cool because looking at the brand and knowing the successes that you've had as a consumer, you don't necessarily have that context of like what it takes from the early days to actually get something off the ground. And there's no
I
silver
have such
bullet. It's
stories of, like, squalling all over the place. I was, like, couldn't open the door because my hands were so covered. I mean, I look back on it, and it was the best of times. Like, it sucked. It was so
yeah.
hard, but it was those moments that made the brand that I look back on that I hold deepest in my heart, too. And,
Yeah.
yeah, there were those times when I mean, I'll be honest, I lost my house, like, there were really rough times.
Wow.
And I didn't know how this was going to end. So I don't want you to think it was all, lollipops and sunshine by any stretch of the imagination. It took a real
Wow.
impact on my family,
Yeah.
and certainly my health, but we did it.
Yeah. Yeah, and here you are today, and the good and the bad. It creates the whole experience. And I hear so many times founders, after they've gone through an exit or end up stepping away from the company, that they often refer to those early days as their fondest memories of the business. I think in the moment, it hurts and there's a lot of pain and oftentimes suffering in those
Mhm.
early days. But I
Yeah,
think, like we've said, like through that pain, like you grow and you transform and you become essentially
absolutely.
a new person, and there's a new life on the other side of it.
There is. Look at me now. I'm smiling. I'm healthy. I have a new home with my family at American Exchange who support me and
Yeah,
want to see the brand grow. Who knows what's going to come? But again, the
yeah,
brand could close tomorrow and we never know what's going to be promised to us. But I still feel like it was the most incredible success because we changed the industry.
yeah, yeah, 100%. That's so true. That really is so true. And I can't believe you lost your house. That's
That's what you got from this.
yeah.
You know, it's not something I think this is probably the first time I ever said it on a podcast.
Wow.
It's true.
Wow. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for being so honest and open
Thank you
because
for
I know
doing
that's
research
yeah,
on this brand. That means a
yeah,
lot to me.
yeah. No, of course. And I know people hearing that, obviously we don't like no one wants that to happen,
No.
but that shouldn't necessarily deter people from still pursuing their dreams and their
No.
passions.
No, I still
Yeah.
wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change having brain surgery. I almost died in December from meningitis from overdoing it
Oh
too.
my God.
Like, I wouldn't change any one of those moments. I mean, I wasn't happy packing up my house and not knowing what was next or any of those things. But I got closer to my family than I've ever been. There were so many things that came out of it. My children are just the most supportive young adults that I can imagine. I was very difficult for them because this wasn't that long ago. This was just a few years ago.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
let's go 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
Um, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. I think that's really the ultimate support. Like
Yeah.
you've been through it all personally,
Yeah.
health, finance. Um, you've been through all the aspects. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the lowest of lows, highest of highs, and still to hear you say that you wouldn't change it is like the ultimate kind of shield of approval and of
Thank you.
support. That's really,
Thank
really
you.
inspiring to hear.
Thank you. I will be completely honest. This is probably the most vulnerable I've been in a podcast, but I think it's
Wow.
so important that your audiences hear that it isn't always an easy thing and it isn't always a straight road to success. There's a lot of dips and turns and zigs and zags, but ultimately you have to know what your why is. And to be honest, as a founder, it shouldn't always be money because
Yeah.
that's just not gonna, I just don't think that should be the end all be all when you're a purpose driven company.
Yeah.
Um, I'm probably very strange in that matter, but that's how I look at it. That's how I get up every day. I knew when I went into my last brain surgery that when I said to my family and my friends, don't worry, if I don't wake up, I'm okay. I'm happy. I'm at peace. Whatever happens, I feel like I've been a success. So if this is the end of the
Yeah.
road, I'm in a good place mentally. And
Wow.
I think that creating this brand and all the things, the good and the bad that has happened has allowed me to be in this space that I'm in and have been now.
Yeah. And to really live, I mean, I just hear so much gratitude coming from you and just imagining everything that, you've experienced to still have gratitude be at the forefront of how you live is impactful.
None of it would have been possible if I didn't have throughout this amazing team supporting me, whether they're with me now or have gone on to other jobs. Everyone played such an integral role in shaping the brand and shaping me as a person. And I am forever grateful to each and every one of those people. And today, the same thing. I have the best team. I have such a phenomenal team.
That's amazing. How many people are on the Indie Lee team currently?
So it's an interesting thing because it's sort of like a shared service because it's part of American Exchange AX Beauty. So I don't even know how many people they have right now, like within beauty. It probably is 35 to 50 even. And it
Okay.
all means like we have creative people. So it's not necessarily dedicated because we all move. I certainly, that's not even true. I work on some other brands too. So now that I think about it, I do, which is so cool. Like to be able to work on some other brands and see some other things and where I have some strong areas, I get to put that to other brands. So it's really a beautiful collaboration.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear that also everything you've learned along the way, you can bring that expertise and apply it to other brands like within the family.
Yeah, and they're teaching me so much too. I never want to stop learning. I always say, and when I stop learning, just go ahead. Run.
Student of life.
That's it. Pursuit of learning.
And are there any things beyond skincare where you'd love to inspire customers to explore a healthier option?
Yeah, I think that we all need to look at what we're putting in our bodies as well. I think that people are more I don't think that's proper English. I think people generally are interested of what they're putting in their body, and I do think this is not gonna be a political statement, but I think there is a real problem in the food system and getting healthier food to people and what we've done industrialized society into ultra-processed foods. So I do think that's an area that I certainly do want to explore and talk about more, but I also spend a lot of time speaking about autoimmune issues because I'm a 7-time autoimmune thriver. I'm on the board of directors of the Autoimmune Association. So, really tapping into that and sharing my experiences as somebody with a significant chronic illness and still being an entrepreneur. But I also think really tapping into what regenerative agriculture and businesses can look like so that we can start to give back to what we've taken from this planet. I don't
Eh,
think that that is sustainable. I think we need to do better. And so I think those are things that at a very personal level, we can all make some tiny changes that can have a huge impact.
Anyone who's done any research understands the negative impacts of a Western modernized food
Yeah.
system and the negative impacts to our bodies, to the earth, to the systems. It shouldn't be politicized. I really don't.
I I know. To me it's a evolution issue. It's not a political issue. It's you know, it's It's how do we continue to live here and stewardship of the earth and everything that goes into our bodies. I think that's really important. So I'm really looking forward to speaking more about that. And for me, writing a lot more about what it looks like at someone of my age, the ripe old age of 53. I'll be 54 next month. And what that looks like to edit your life and put boundaries and all those things that are, to me, putting boundaries and eating healthy and moving your body, all those things are part of your wellness, overall wellness. I don't think your overall wellness is just your food or your skincare. I think it's mental health, it's emotional health, it's all of those things. And so I'm really starting to dive deeper into that on my platforms to talk about it from a place of what I've experienced.
Interesting. And do you feel like that could be potentially a next evolution of,
Oh,
yeah, you're just going to
I don't
explore
know.
and take it one day at a time?
Yeah, I never say never anymore. Listen, we were all stuck in our houses for 2 years. I will never say never. If COVID taught me anything, it's that you never know what's going to happen. But again, I go to, wow, how lucky am I that I have freedom to speak about the things that I love to talk about and share
Uh,
and learn through American Exchange. They really support me to speak up and speak out, and that I can be so transparent with you about what has
yeah.
happened to me. They're like, Indy, this is your story. We shouldn't be the narrators of it. And that's a very unique place to be when you have owners and whatnot as a brand founder with your name on the box.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's so cool and so impactful and inspiring to hear
Yeah.
that you can really be your true self and
Yeah.
share your story how you want it to be told.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, we've touched on this a lot, but if there was one piece of advice that you know today that you would give your past self when you were starting Indie Lee? Is there any really key kernel that you'd give yourself that you weren't aware of at that time?
Yeah, it is very personal. Um, that I'm worthy. That's really it. I think I spent the first 37 years of my life as a passenger because I didn't think I was worth being the driver. And it wasn't until I was diagnosed that I realized I can be the driver and that I was worthy of success, of a beautiful life, of having a voice, of accomplishing things. I didn't think that for years. No, what? Please no, it wasn't my parents. Goodness knows, they always told me, "Oh, I had the most supportive parents you could possibly ever imagine." But it's got to come from your core. And so I wish I would have told myself that a lot earlier.
Hmm, that's very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing,
You're
Indie
welcome.
Lee. It was amazing talking with you. Thank you so much for all
Thank
the
you.
insights, for the vulnerability, for the honesty. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
That was Indie Lee, the founder of Indie Lee Skincare. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to click that follow button on your podcast app so you never miss a new episode. If you're looking for some more practical takeaways to grow your brand, subscribe to the Brand Study newsletter. It's packed with exclusive content, deep brand analysis, and real world insights you can actually use. Sign up today at thebrandstudy.co. I'm Conrad, and I'll see you next time.